Hey, Haunted Hearts, it's Brett, your haunted therapist. I want to get into a topic that I personally can't get off my mind. And it's a question that might feel simple at first, but the deeper you go, the more it starts to unravel everything that you thought you understood about the paranormal. What if we've been asking the wrong question this whole time? Questions are so much more important than answers sometimes, right? The right questions, anyway. What if it's not, are ghosts real, but instead, who is actually haunting who? Because when you really sit with that, it opens up something much bigger, something that touches not just the paranormal, but psychology, consciousness, even the nature of reality itself. So today I want to explore this idea from a few different angles. So we're going to talk about ghost hunting, quantum physics, therapy, and those moments in the therapy room that feel honestly a little bit mystical. Let's start with something familiar, the idea of a ghost. Most people think of a ghost as someone who has died, but hasn't fully moved on. They're stuck, looping, replaying something, a moment, an emotion, a trauma. And if you've listened to this podcast before, you already know that description. And it should sound very familiar because that's also how trauma works. In trauma, we see what I often describe as a residual haunting. The nervous system gets stuck replaying something that hasn't been fully processed. The body remembers, the emotions linger, the reaction happens even when the present moment is safe. It's like part of you is still there in that past moment, still looping, still echoing. Here's where it starts to get interesting, because in ghost hunting, there's also this distinction between what is called a residual haunting and an intelligent haunting. So a residual haunting is like a recording. It plays over and over again. No awareness, no interaction, just energy replaying. But an intelligent haunting responds, it interacts, it's aware, it can communicate. And in therapy, that shift happens too. When something moves from the unconscious to conscious, from automatic to aware, from looping to something that can actually be witnessed and processed, named and responded to, that's the moment things start to change. And this is where I want to bring something that might feel a little unexpected. Quantum physics. Stay with me. I promise this connects. So there's this concept in quantum physics called Schrödinger's cat. And the idea is that something can exist in multiple states at the same time until it is observed, until it is witnessed, until awareness collapses it into one reality. Now, think about that in the context of ghost hunting. You walk into a location and you don't know what's there. Is it haunted? Is it not? Is something present? Is nothing present? In a strange way, it exists in both possibilities until there is observation, until there is interaction, until there is awareness brought to it, right? The observer and observed phenomenon. And now bring that into therapy, because this is where it gets really real. There are moments, especially when I'm doing EMDR or parts work, where something shifts in the room. And if you're a therapist listening to this and you do EMDR or parts work, I know you know what I'm talking about, because you feel it too, right? Like you kind of like subconsciously or psychically shift with them. If you're not a therapist, I don't know, that might sound a little strange, but there are moments where you can feel something before it's been spoken. You can sense where something's going. You know what SUDS level they're at. You can feel a shift in the client's internal world before they even have words for it. And I've said this before, sometimes it feels almost psychic, not in a performative way, not in a I'm predicting the future way, or your great aunt Martha is trying to communicate with you, but in a deep attunement, a deep connection, a deep awareness of something that is just below the surface waiting to be seen. So what is that? Is that intuition? Is that the nervous system picking up on microsignals? Is that pattern recognition? Is that consciousness connecting in a way that we don't fully understand yet? Or Is it something more? Because if consciousness plays a role in shaping reality, if observation matters, if awareness changes what unfolds, then therapy itself starts to look a little bit like collapsing a wave function, taking something that exists in multiple states, fear, pain, memory, possibility, and bringing it into clarity, into form, into something that can finally be not only witnessed, but processed. So now let's go back to the original question, who's haunting who? Because when we walk into a haunted location, we assume we are observing the ghost. We are the observers, and the ghost is being observed. We are studying it. We're trying to understand it. What if the act of observation goes both ways? What if in some way we are also being observed? And I don't necessarily mean in a literal something is watching you. I always feel like somebody's watching me. Not always in that kind of way, although maybe, but in the sense that even just our presence, our attention, our consciousness, our own energy field changes the environment, just like in therapy. When you sit with someone and you truly see them, not just their behaviors, not just their symptoms, but the parts of them that have been hidden, protected, unprocessed, something changes. Those parts start to respond. So are we uncovering something that was already there, or are we participating in bringing it into form? And if that's true, then maybe the same question applies to ghost hunting. Are we discovering ghosts, or are we interacting with something that requires consciousness to take shape? And this is where I want to bring one more idea in. There are theories that some paranormal experiences may not be the dead at all, but it could be the living. Moments of intense emotion, trauma, or even altered states of consciousness projecting outward, almost like an astral echo, a part of someone not fully contained within them. Which again, if you think about trauma, it doesn't sound that far off, because trauma often feels like part of you is not fully here. Part of you is somewhere else, stuck, looping, echoing. So again, who's haunting who? Is the past haunting the present? Is the mind haunting the body? Are the living haunting the environment? Or is it all of the above? All of the above. What I find most fascinating about all of this is not necessarily proving one theory over another. It's recognizing the line between psychology and the paranormal might not be as solid as we think. That consciousness, memory, trauma, and what we call hauntings may all exist on a spectrum, different expressions of something we're still trying to understand. And maybe instead of asking, is this real? A better question is, what is this trying to show me? Because whether it's happening in a therapy room or a haunted location, something is asking to be witnessed. Maybe it didn't ask, but it is being witnessed. Something is asking to be understood. Something is asking to no longer stay hidden. And that is where healing begins. So the next time you think about ghosts or hauntings or even your own internal experiences, I want you to gently ask yourself, what might I be observing? And what might be observing me? That's all for now, Haunted Hearts. I'll see you next time. Stay spooky, stay haunted.